There are so many childhood actors who were stars at one point. They not only had big roles on TV, but they also had music careers that you might have forgotten about. So I'm going to talk about all of them for this video. But before I get into it, make sure you're subscribed right away so that you can see more of Adam the Flop Bop. So the first artist I want to talk about is Vanessa Hudgens because she actually released multiple albums under Disney. Her debut album V came out in 2006 after the first High School Musical movie, which was great timing because obviously that movie was what introduced us all to Vanessa, and her starting a music career was just a way for her to become a full-on star. The album itself had moderate success. It sold 34,000 units in the first week and debuted at number 24. So it wasn't terrible for a debut album. It was definitely okay, especially since it was just her first year of her career, but it wasn't incredible. She did see moderate success with the single Come Back to Me, which peaked at number 55. Now you'd think that her second album would do better than her first album, especially because High School Musical was such a big franchise for Disney and Vanessa was so popular. But her second album, Identified, didn't do as well as her first album. It sold 22,000 units in the first week and only one song from the album charted, which was Sneaker Night, and it peaked at number 88. After this album, she actually split from her label, Hollywood Records, and confirmed that she was taking a break from music, but she never came back. I feel like her music career never really took off because even though she was the star of High School Musical, which was so insanely popular, she never had her own Disney Channel show. And if you look back to all the successful pop stars that Disney produced, like Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, even Hilary Duff, all of them had their own TV shows. And this means that they were on our TVs consistently for years, whereas Vanessa was just in 3 High School Musical movies. Obviously, Vanessa was very popular and she still is very popular, but her music career was never really shoved in our faces like I feel like it was with other Disney stars. Vanessa actually recently announced in an interview that she does not plan on returning to music because it's just not one of her priorities at the moment.
I'm still in the same place with music. I love it. I love doing it. I love singing, but that's just not on the priority list right now.
And this definitely makes sense. I mean, the music industry is very different now than it was during the time that she was releasing music. Obviously, Disney was sort of producing her as a pop star at the time and it just didn't work out. But now you can tell that her focus is primarily on acting and she doesn't want music to interfere with that. It is sad that we'll probably never ever get a Vanessa Hudgens album again, but at least she gave us the bops like Sneaker Night that we can still listen to today. So the next artist I want to talk about is an actress from Nickelodeon. Unlike the other childhood stars who were pursuing pop music careers, Jennette McCurdy actually started a country music career, which you all might have forgotten about. So while Jennette was on iCarly, she released her debut self-titled album in 2012, but it failed to chart. And after this happened, she did not continue releasing music. I feel like her album never took off because her audience at the time consisted of people who were watching iCarly, and I just don't think that country music is what the audience was into. Like, think back to this time. I'm sure you all were listening to artists like Hannah Montana, Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato. It was all very much teen pop music, and country music was just very different from that. So to me, it makes sense why this album didn't do very well. Jennette actually gave some details about her music career in her memoir called I'm Glad My Mom Died. In the memoir, she said that her mom put her in the music industry by having her post covers onto YouTube, and this is how record labels became interested in her. Both Big Machine Records and Capitol Records saw these covers onto YouTube and wanted to sign her, but her mom decided that she should sign with Capitol Records because Big Machine Records already had Taylor Swift and she thought that they wouldn't pay enough attention to her. So after learning about this, it definitely makes sense why Jennette stopped releasing music. She never wanted to have a music career in the first place. It was really just her mom who wanted her to have one. So I'm glad that she was able to get out of that. Speaking of this memoir, you should definitely check it out if you haven't already. I actually listened to it on Audible, which I'm so glad I did because hearing the narration just made it feel so real. Jennette actually narrated it herself, so it feels like you're hearing the story come directly from her, which I love. Audible allows me to listen to this and so much more while I'm doing activities like working out and driving, which is so convenient. You can actually try Audible for free for 30 days and get access to hundreds and thousands of titles that include audiobooks, Audible originals, and podcasts. You can become an Audible member by going to audible.com/AdamTheFlop or by texting Adam the Flop in one word to 500-500. Also, be sure to leave your Audible recommendations in the comments. So there were actually 2 actresses from iCarly that pursued music careers. Not only did Jennette McCurdy pursue a country music career, but Miranda Cosgrove also pursued a career in pop. Well, on iCarly, she released her debut EP, About You Now, which had her highest charting single, also called About You Now, and it peaked at number 47. She released her debut album, Sparks Fly, in 2010, and she actually had a good amount of success with it. The album itself peaked at number 8 in the US, and its lead single, Kissin' You, was a moderate hit, peaking at number 54. A year after Sparks Fly, Miranda released another EP called High Maintenance, but its only charting single, Dancing Crazy, peaked at number 100. And unfortunately, after that, we never got another musical project from Miranda Cosgrove. The story of what happened to her music career is actually so sad. While on tour, her tour bus crashed, which resulted in her getting a leg injury, and this supposedly lost her around $1 million because she had to cancel the rest of her tour dates, and she also lost her partnership with Neutrogena. Her record label Columbia allegedly dropped her after this incident, which is so sad because she probably would have continued releasing music if she was still signed to them. Miranda actually had some really good music. I remember being obsessed with Kissin' You when I was younger, and I think that with the right promotion, she really could have been a huge pop star. Who knows if she'll ever come back to music again? I mean, she is starring in the reboot of iCarly, so maybe that'll spark her interest in also restarting her music career. So we're going back to Disney Channel for this next artist because we cannot ignore the successful music career that Queen Hilary Duff had. While on Lizzie McGuire, Hilary Duff released her album Metamorphosis in 2003, which was a massive success, selling over 200,000 units in the first week. This album basically revived Disney's label Hollywood Records because it was their first high-selling album in years. This means that if it weren't for Hilary and this album, then Hollywood Records would have just always been a flop label, and we could have never gotten pop stars like Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, and Demi Lovato. After Lizzie McGuire ended, she continued to release music under Hollywood Records. Her self-titled album, which she released in 2004, was also a big success and a good follow-up to Metamorphosis. This album sold 192,000 units in the first week and peaked at number 2. However, the album she released after that in 2007 called Dignity wasn't as successful as her first albums and charted at number 3 and sold 140,000 units in the first week. A good thing about this album though is that it did have her highest charting single, With Love, which peaked at number 24 on the Hot 100. Hilary officially ended her Hollywood Records contract by releasing a compilation album the year after. After this, it was a while before we got new Hilary Duff music. She didn't return until 2014 when she signed to RCA Records. She ended up releasing her album Breathe In, Breathe Out in 2015, and this album peaked at number 5 and sold 39,000 units in the first week. So obviously this album wasn't nearly as successful as the albums she released during her Disney days, but it honestly wasn't that bad considering she hadn't been releasing music for a whole 7 years. After this album though, Hilary departed from RCA Records and hasn't given us another album since. She did say last year though that she's not currently working on music, but has been thinking about getting back into the studio and is just trying to figure out the type of music that she would want to create. So hopefully she does get back into the studio because she knows how to make some bops. The album she released in 2015 had some really good dance pop songs, and I think that's the perfect genre for her and her voice. Hilary does have a lot of fans from when she was releasing music, so I think they would all just be really happy if she returned to the industry. I'm thinking about it now, and there really are so many other actors who I feel like people forgot had music careers. So let me know in the comments if you want this to be a series, and I'll make a part 2. Thank you all so much for tuning into this episode of Adam the Flop Bops. Make sure you're subscribed right now so you can hear all the music tea that I love talking about. And also check out my short form content on my other social media profiles.